Microsoft Build happened recently, and we released a ton of announcements on all things Microsoft, but especially in the Azure SQL and Azure SQL Database space. In this episode, you'll learn about all the latest updates, including things related to Data API Builder, Elastic Pools for Hyperscale, and Copilot support in Azure Data Studio. Learn all about it and see some great demos and more this week on Data Exposed. Hi, I'm Anna Hoffman, and welcome to this episode of Data Exposed. Today we have a super exciting episode. I always say that. I really mean it this time because we're going to be talking about all of the updates for Azure SQL that happened at Microsoft Build. So we had a bunch of sessions at Microsoft Build. Some people were in person, some people were online, some people were probably both. But today I'm bringing on some wonderful friends from the product group. We're bringing on Miasma, Drew, and Davide. And we are going to talk about the latest announcements. We're going to recap what happened at Build. We're going to show you some exciting demos and tell you where you can go to learn more. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you the updates that we had at Microsoft Build in the Azure SQL database space. Lots of things here, lots of exciting things here. I'm really excited about all of them, to be honest. I'm going to ask Miasma, what are your favorite things on this list, or what are some things that you feel like we should make sure viewers know about?
Thank you, Anna. And there's so much on this slide to cover, but my favorite definitely about the GE announcements that we have around the hyperscale point-in-time recovery. We have some amazing announcements in terms of the public preview of Data API Builder, some of the great announcements in the migration space that you can read on the offline migrations, as well as the migration journey planning. And my most favorite is definitely the new JSON type, which is in private preview. So please watch for the sessions and the call for action if you want to test that out. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Miasma. I definitely agree. Those are great things. Another thing I want to highlight is Elastic Pools for Hyperscale. This is really cool. We're kind of bringing all of the things together in this one tier of hyperscale, which is super exciting. Davide actually had a session. Actually, all three of you were there in person, but Davide, you had a session, and I'd love to hear like some of the things that you're working on, and maybe if you can show us anything.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. So here's the news from my side. Data API Builder, it's been around for a couple of months now, and we got a lot of good feedback. If you're wondering what Data API Builder is, well, I can explain you in a few minutes. Just make sure that you head to Azure /Data API Builder on GitHub, because this is open source. And what Data API Builder allows you to do is take your Azure SQL Database and turn it into an API, a REST or graphical API, so your developers can be super easily and efficient in accessing the data. Let me just, I just have a demo ready, so let me show you. First of all, let's start from the table I have. I have the series table and the books table, and as you can see here, I have information about the books I like and the series to which these books belongs to. And I want my developers to build a very nice front end to make me able to search the books, share with others, basically manage my little library. What I would normally have to do after creating the table is writing a lot of code to make the CRUD operation available as a REST or graphical endpoint. Pagination, filtering, sorting, selection, and also even taking care about the authentication. Well, Data API Builder makes everything super easy. I just need to initialize Data API Builder, which basically create a configuration file. Then I can do add, and let's say I want to add the series table here. As you can see, I'm just adding the series table plus other information to make sure that in this case, anyone can access it. And then I also want to add my book table. So again, same, I'm adding my book object here and exposing it. And once I have done that, the only thing, actually, let me first of all show that now I have this configuration file here. And so I can, for example, do a config and the configuration file is just a JSON file that contains all the information needed to correctly expose the objects. Now, the only thing I have to do is start. And that's it. in just a few seconds, you will see that now I have the server listening on this port. I can click, and then I will be brought, in this case, to my GraphQL editor, because I also chosen to expose a GraphQL endpoint. So I can create a new document, apply, go here, and say I want to query, let's say, my books, and I want to have all my books, for example, the title, and the ID, and the page number. And here we go. I have the books. And of course, I can, filter, as I said before, I can create new books. But I don't know, how much time did I took? Let's say 1 minute? That's a pretty efficient way to expose data and make it an API, right? So that's what I have to share with you about the Data API Builder. Hope you like it.
Wow, awesome, Davide. That is super cool. So people can get hands-on with that today if they just head over to GitHub. So that is awesome. And I'm sure people wanted to learn more about this. So for viewers, you can also see the full session, right? This is
all be there is a details. Yeah, exactly. There is a full session on that I just delivered. So just make sure you check it out. It connects also Data API Builder with all the other cool features that you are announcing and presenting today. So it's very nice to see everything working together.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much, Davide. So that's just a quick glimpse at the Azure SQL Database updates. This is where a lot of our updates landed, but I did want to mention there was one update for Azure SQL Managed Instance that a lot of people will be excited about. This is ledger support in public preview. This is bringing the power of blockchain to Azure SQL Managed Instance databases without adding any extra cost. So go check this out today. And then finally, but certainly not least, I brought Drew on. Drew, always great to have you on the show. Can you tell us what is going on in the tool space?
Thanks, Anna. So in addition to the Azure SQL Bindings, Azure Functions integration going GA, we have a lot of cool things going into Azure Data Studio. So for developers, like you saw with Davide, who work with tables and then build on top of it using something like Data API Builder or Azure Functions, you might be in an interface like Azure Data Studio. And so it's great to see some of the new improvements coming into it, like the branching by schema, or now a preview for the dialog when you want to add new users to improve the security of your application. But last but not least is the addition of Copilot integration into Azure Data Studio. So I've got a table here with the address information. And if I want to write a query that grabs city and postal code by the state, let me just ask Copilot to help me write an index on that query. And so it's going to say, what is that? And we will get our T-SQL generated for us. So I didn't have to go look that up or try to remember it, but Copilot was able to help me out in building that index. If you're starting from scratch even, so let's just say I need to create a table. Let me put columns. I don't like those columns. Let me do order total. So I'm going to create a table here that's for orders. I know that I wanted to relate it to my customer table, and I've got some column ID ideas that I want to use. So let me just start writing my create table and let Copilot think about it. And it's generating an orders table for me. It's doing the foreign key. It's doing the primary key. And it's even starting to pick out some data types for me. So with all of that, Copilot's able to help me build my database faster, which is great. As a developer, if I've got tools like Data API Builder, now I can also use Azure Data Studio to develop faster through Copilot.
Wow, that is so cool. I mean, we've been hearing a lot about Copilot, but it's great to see how it applies in Azure Data Studio today, that people can go try this out and take advantage of it. And like you said, build apps faster. Drew, thanks so much for sharing this with us. Folks just have to go get the latest build of Azure Data Studio, right?
Exactly. Go grab the latest release 1.43 of Azure Data Studio and you're all set to go.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much, Drew, Davide, Miasma. This has been a jam-packed episode. We talked about all the announcements, and we really only skimmed the surface on those announcements. So I'm going to put some links in the description for you to go to our Azure SQL blog where you can read all about all the different announcements if one piqued your interest, or if you want to learn how to get hands-on with things like Data API Builder or Copilot in Azure Data Studio. We hope you check it out. That's all for our show today. If you like this episode, go ahead and give it a like, leave us a comment, and let us know your favorite announcement. And we hope to see you next time on Data Exposed.